this video, we're going to be looking at setting up modules within a Canvas course. We'll first just talk about why we would want to organize our course in modules. So we're looking at a sample course right now, and you can see I have a few modules in here and some assignments and a page, a quiz, things like that. So if I decide to not organize my course in modules and I go organize my information somewhere else, I'm going to go through the top 2 places that we've seen, aside from modules, that people would organize their course. And the first one is actually the calendar. So I'm going to pop into Student View and then go to our course calendar. So in my student view, you can see on my course calendar, I've got just this one assignment here, due August 24th, or it's an August 24th assignment and it's due on the 25th. I can see it's due at 8:30. So there's a little bit of information here, but this is the only thing that I can see. So if you remember from a few minutes ago or a few seconds ago, I had a bunch of different content within my modules, but if I'm looking at the course calendar, I really only see this one thing because that's the only thing that has a due date. So as a reminder, only things that have due dates are going to show up automatically on the calendar. And this isn't the only place that I could add this assignment. In fact, I didn't even add this assignment to the calendar. It automatically showed up there. So now I'm going to go back to my Canvas course, and I want to show you what it looks like organizing it within assignments. So if I come to my Canvas assignments here, I can see that I have a couple different assignments. They're not really organized in any order, really. Looks like maybe it might be alphabetical here, and then I've got this assignment down here that's not really part of the assignments up here, but there's really no clear organization on how I should progress through this content. Additionally, if you think about, I've only got a couple assignments in here. If I go to December, where we've been using Canvas all semester, I'm going to have a lot more than just 3 or 4 assignments on this page. So this is what assignments would look like for students. So going back to modules now, what I like about modules is that I am able to add in not just assignments, because on my calendar or in the assignments area, I only see assignments or things that the students are supposed to be doing versus content pages or discussions. There's plenty of other things that my students can do aside from just submitting an assignment in Canvas. Now, if I'm delivering the content live in class, then obviously they're going to get that content that way. I do have to consider if I have any students that might not be in my classroom for 2 weeks, maybe they're going to be out for a little while. How are they going to get the content, and how are they going to know what content to look at and on what day? And this is really where modules, that's where the strength of modules comes into play. Additionally, I'm able to add in some settings in here just to make sure that the students are progressing through the module as I intended for them to progress through the module. And then if we need to transition to remote learning for any reason, that transition becomes very easy. So we're going to just look at now actually organizing these things. So now that I've hopefully sold you a little bit on modules, we're going to organize these modules. So you can see right here, I have this module organized by date. So for the students, this would be very easy to understand that if we're in the week of August 24th through the 28th, these are the things that I'm going to do. And I opted to also add the date to the page or the assignment. I wouldn't necessarily need to do that, but if I wanted to organize it by date, that would be one way to do it. Another way to do this is to organize it by unit. And some of you may already think about your content in that way. So if I organize it by unit, I'm going to add a new module, and maybe my module is, I'll just make it easy, Unit 1. So I'm going to add this new module, Unit 1, and then I'm going to start adding some placeholders for things. So I'm going to go through in just a second actually adding this content, so I'll go through a little more of this, but I'm going to add in some lessons and I'm going to add probably an assignment. And maybe I've got a couple lessons and then an assignment after that. So however I'm going to chunk my content together. I can add all of those things in there. And then again, it's very easy for the students to understand that, hey, Unit 1, this is what we're talking about right now. This is your lesson. This is your assignment. And again, depending on your content area, maybe that's a daily thing. Then we go to 1.2 lesson, 1.2 assignment, 1.3 lesson, 1.3 assignment. And I can actually start to build some of those things. So I've put in placeholders for all of these items. I can do that for the entire unit and then go back and actually add the content in there. So these are probably two of the more popular ways to utilize modules, setting it up by date here versus setting it up by unit. And then I add my content. So let's actually look at adding some of that content. So you saw me very quickly add some pages in there, an assignment. You can see in this top one here, I even have a quiz. So once I create that module, so I created a new module up here at the top. Once that module is created, over here on the right-hand side, I'm going to see a plus button. And I'm going to be able to add all of these items in here. So I can add a page. Pages are the best way to deliver content to students. So you're going to be able to embed videos on there. You can add notes to that. You can embed a Google Doc, a slideshow. However you want to deliver content to students, you can do that on a page. So I'm just going to call this page my content delivery. And I'll add that item. So I've added some content delivery. Then maybe I would like for the students to collaborate. We're in a remote learning setting. I want them to collaborate on a discussion. So I've got my content delivery. I have collaboration time. That's peer-to-peer and peer-to-teacher. Then I want them to do maybe a quick check for understanding. And I'm going to use a quiz to do that. And all of these things are going to be related to each other. And finally, I'm going to actually have them turn something in to me. So this is the assignment. And so they're actually actively turning something in. They're maybe producing a product or creating something, analyzing something, reading and responding, whatever it is, they actually have the assignment. So I've got these 4 items in here, and I can continue to add things. Now, if I want to separate my lessons and maybe all of these 4 things go with the next set of lessons, I can add something called a text header. So this is just a breakup of your content. So I'm just going to call this break. I'm going to add that text header in there. And right now the break is down here, and I really want the break to happen between these 2 things. So I'm actually going to click and drag this up, and now I get that break. So this makes it really easy for the students to see where the content is broken down within the unit if you feel like your module is getting large. What you're also able to do is indent all of your items so that the students can see I have my content delivery, and then these are the 3 things that go within that content delivery. And I can actually even indent them more if I'd like to. So it sort of creates this outline for students. So I can either put a break in there, or I can say, here's your main content, and then these are the 3 things to help you apply and explore that content a little further. Once I've added everything to my module, I will want to make sure that I publish each of these items, or I can just come up here at the top and I can publish my module and it will publish all of those items for me. But let's say that I've created this unit and I want the students to work through the content in a particular order. So I'm going to come to the right-hand side of my module and click my 3 dots and choose to edit this module. And I've got 3 areas here that I want to talk about. The first one is locking the module until a certain date, especially if we're going to be going into a longer extended remote learning area, then maybe locking it until a certain date would be applicable. So I have my Unit 2 module ready, but I actually don't want that to be released until a certain date. I want to get it all in there. I want to make sure it's all published and stuff, but I don't want students to actually get in there and start working on it until a certain date. So I would just choose this lock until, and then I can choose the date that it gets released to students. I'm also able to do prerequisites. I'm going to talk about prerequisites in just a second. So let's go down to requirements here. So I'm going to add some requirements to the module. The 2 options I have here are students must complete all of the requirements, or students must complete one of these requirements. So I'm going to choose that students must complete all the requirements, and I can also choose that students move through the requirements in sequential order, which means that I want them to view lesson 1.1 first. Then I'd like to make sure that they actually turn in, or they submit the assignment for 1.1. Then they're able to look at the content delivery. They can participate in our collaboration time. They're going to take our check for understanding quiz, or they can view that item, and then they're going to submit the assignment. For that check for understanding quiz, once I actually add points to that quiz and questions to that quiz, I could come back in here and say they have to score a certain point value. So I could say they have to get a 3 out of 4 in order to move on in the content. And then I'll just click Update Module. So now it has put some requirements on this module. I'm going to go to Student View so you can see what this looks like. But what's really nice about this is it's actually going to keep track of the students progressing through your module. So the students are still going to see all the content there, but they're going to have to move through things in the order that you want them to move through. So going to my modules, and I just did Unit 1. So Unit 1, I can see here that I have complete all items. And these right here are grayed out for me. And it tells my students what they need to do. It actually shows them what they need to do here. And so I can go into my first item, lesson 1.1. I'm going to read all the content that my teacher puts in. And then if I come back to my module, I can see now that lesson 1.1 is completed. So lesson 1.1 is completed. Now I've unlocked 1.1 assignment. So I'm going to go back to my teacher view here, and I want to talk about prerequisites. So I'm going to take my August 24th module. I'm actually going to move it below my Unit 1 module. So now in August 24th, in this module, I want to do the same thing, but instead of just adding requirements, I'm also going to add prerequisites. So the prerequisite for this module would be to complete the Unit 1 module. And I have those requirements already set up in my Unit 1 module. They have to view, they have to submit, and so on. And then I can come in here and add my requirements to this module as well. So it is going to take some time for you to set some of these things up, but I think what you'll find is that it just gives students a clear view of how the course is to be run and what items they need to complete and at what time. If I add due dates to these things, you can see right here, this is an August 24th assignment, but it's due on the 25th. All those things will show up there for students. Now, if I go back to my calendar or I go back to my assignment page, I miss this content. I miss my content delivery. I miss those things. Even if I just go back to my assignments page and I can see some of the things that have due dates, there's no order to these things here. So if students are just progressing however they'd like to through here, There's really no way to set up requirements in this. There's no course organization in here unless you've started to use the assignments page almost like you should be using modules. The reason we would do modules though is because the assignments area can't include pages. It can't include the content, and that's going to be super important for the students to have access to those things. If you have any questions, let our team know. You can always book an appointment with us or email us at clteam@tsc.k12.in.us. Thanks for watching.